Are you concerned about the terroristas who call themselves Libertad?
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're checking out 10 things you need to know before playing Far Cry 6.
You're an army of one against an army of thousands.
For this list, we'll be looking at changes to the gameplay of the series as well as the characters you'll meet along the way in your quest to liberate the island of Yara. Which game in the Far Cry series was your favorite? Are you looking forward to taking on Giancarlo Esposito? Let us know down in the comments.
Okay.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. First and third person gameplay.
Here, guerrillas live,
Kaboom!
train.
The Far Cry series has always been a first person experience. Even during cutscenes, you are always locked in the character's perspective. In a radical departure from previous entries, when entering rebel camps, you are now able to freely explore in a traditional over-the-shoulder perspective, seeing your own personal Danny Rojas interacting with NPCs within the camp. In-game cutscenes will also finally have a more cinematic feel to them as well, finally dropping the locked first-person viewpoint entirely.
That usually work?
50-50.
And honestly, when you have Giancarlo Esposito in your game, you definitely want to give him the best angles and the most room possible to capture his performance.
These fish, we will catch and release.
RPG elements.
Pick a gadget, Danny. This is a safe space. There's no wrong answer here.
Ubisoft is a company that has a tendency to repeat patterns in their game series over and over again. Think of the towers in nearly every Ubisoft game in the 2010s. But there has been a shift in the company's dynamic as of late, and their new obsession seems to be adding RPG elements to all of their games. In Far Cry 6, Ubisoft is taking the series even deeper into RPG territory. Players will be able to equip various gear that each carry different benefits, from elemental buffers to increased stamina. This carries over to ammo as well, with the player needing to adapt new strategies for different enemy types based on their weaknesses to various ammunition. It remains to be seen if this will be a welcome departure for the series, or more of an annoyance for players used to the guns blazing approach.
Head to the workbench and I'll show you. Hola. Supremos aren't just simple tools of destruction.
Diego Castillo.
You were imprisoned at the age of 13, the same age as Diego. You spent a lot of time with your father.
He is a great teacher.
The son of Anton Castillo, Diego was first introduced to us when his father handed him a live grenade and pulled the pin.
It has 4 basic parts. The shell, which contains the explosive, the fuse, the handle, and of course, the pin.
What are you doing?
Breathe, Diego.
If you want to make an impression with a character, there are few ways more jarring than that. Diego's story throughout Far Cry 6 appears to be the internal struggle of the character, trying to decide for himself if he wants to follow in his father's footsteps, the way Anton is so clearly steering him towards, or chart his own path and escape his life under his father's tyrannical thumb. The player character Danny is even drawn into the conflict by Anton retrieving his son from the same ship that Danny is using to try and escape the island. So these two characters' destinies are definitely going to be intrinsically linked as the story of Far Cry 6 progresses.
I have caught you, mijo. Now it's time to bring you home.
I don't want this anymore, Papa.
We have no choice.
Let them go. They can work.
Urban environments.
This land is your home, Danny. I'm sure you know every inch of it. From the bloodthirsty jungles and postcard shorelines, to dead-end towns and our friendly capital city.
The Far Cry series has always primarily been about fighting in rugged terrain, usually jungles, mountainous regions, and even the African savanna. For Far Cry 6, however, Ubisoft is giving gamers not only the lush forest and mountain biomes of previous entries, but also taking the fight to the streets of Yara and fighting the rebellion from the rooftops. In addition to more verticality, the player is given far more options for approaching mission objectives than simply kicking in the front door and raining down as much absolute chaos as possible, although this is still a valid option. Players can now sneak into or past checkpoints to take the fight to the enemy from within, before of course raining down as much absolute chaos as possible.
Christmas trees? Do you even grow those here?
Mexicans pay crazy money for this. How you think El Presidente funded Maria's new face?
Okay. Go through.
Danny Rojas.
So why are you here?
I watched Castillo order a whole boat of our people shot to death. And I want to know who's going to help me take him down.
In Far Cry 6, the player assumes the role of Danny Rojas, a former soldier of the Yaran army who joins the Libertad for revenge after narrowly escaping an assault by Anton while trying to flee the island of Yara. For the first time in the series, players can choose between a male or female Danny, and both options will be fully voiced for the first time since Far Cry 4. As Danny, players will use their previous military training to help the revolution take down the occupying forces of the Yaran militia and help to overthrow the ruthless Anton Castillo. From the footage we've seen, Danny seems conflicted about joining the Libertad at all, possibly wanting to leave all the fighting in their past.
You have rules. You might kill, but you're no killer.
You know I'm not a guerrilla, right?
Everything got another purpose.
Yara.
When Yara becomes paradise, my methods, no one will care.
According to Ubisoft, Yara is their largest playground in a Far Cry game to date, and from what we've seen so far, it's also one of their most detailed. Modeled after real-world Cuba, the island of Yara is frozen in time, locked decades behind the rest of the outside world. Many of the civilian vehicles are from the 60s, and only Anton's forces seem to have access to any modern technology besides cell phones. Yara gives the player a wildly diverse world to explore, from the jungles to the mountains and the shores of the surrounding areas to the run-down neighborhoods of most of the island's residents, before finally reaching the central city and the capital in which Anton surveys all under his watchful eye. There will definitely be no shortage of things to do and areas to explore during your tour of Yara. Enjoy your stay!
How you get around is up to you.
Good girl.
If you want to play it safe, take our secret paths carved in the dirt of old revolutions. Hola, Danny.
How you doing?
Weapon customization.
Black market dealers. These safe havens got everything a guerrilla needs.
The Far Cry games have never shied away from creative weaponry, but Far Cry 6 is taking it to a whole new level. With Yara mostly being cut off from the outside world, most of the weapons you'll use in your rebellion will be of the homemade variety. From a junk launcher, to a motorcycle engine-powered minigun, to a CD-spewing Macarena-singing jukebox of a gun, your resolver arsenal is whatever you can get your hands on. Danny will also have access to a selection of backpacks that can launch missiles to take down large targets, or a flame area of effect attack that lets Danny hover for a few seconds while the pack covers the battlefield in flames. The customization carries over to a myriad of vehicles as well, giving you one of the most unexpected selections of weapons you'll see yet in a Far Cry game. Fangs For Hire.
Can you whistle?
What?
Nah, you can't whistle.
Previous entries in the more recent Far Cry games have given you the option to hire NPCs to accompany you on certain missions, and that tradition continues in Far Cry 6. only under the banner of Fangs For Hire, and as the title suggests, these companions are a bit more animalistic than the ones from previous games. Some of the confirmed Fangs For Hire include a crocodile sporting a jersey and a gold tooth that can use the waters of Yara to sneak up on unsuspecting enemies. Rooster Fang, an enormous rooster that can blend in with many other fowl roaming around Yara before viciously attacking anything Danny wants dealt with. And finally, Chorizo, the wiener dog who, while he can't outright attack any enemies, can be used as a distraction to give you the advantage, because who wouldn't be distracted by him? Look at him!
A good guerrilla always brings a friend along for moral support.
Giancarlo Esposito.
There are lions, there are lambs. Rule or be ruled. You are a lion, and we eat the lambs.
Ever since Far Cry 3's breakout villain Voss, the series has been trying to recapture that maniacal menace, and while Pagan Min and Joseph Seed had their moments, none of them have managed to recreate the impact of Voss. But if anyone can finally dethrone the definition of insanity, it's Giancarlo Esposito.
You was too proud to let that fish go.
No! You have poisoned Yara! You have poisoned your sword!
I have caught a very big fish today.
Most famous for his work as Gus Fring on Breaking Bad, Giancarlo's cool demeanor while delivering the most terrifying performances will surely make his turn as El Presidente Anton Castillo just as memorable. A ruthless dictator who believes only he can return Yara to its former glory and put its country back on the world stage, Anton is willing to do whatever is necessary to accomplish his goal, no matter the cost. Already a standout from what we've seen, Anton will hopefully be one of the series' best villains.
They could help rebuild paradise.
But if you wanted them to live, you would have never set foot on this fucking boat.
Season Pass.
What is going on? Who's watching?
If you ever wondered what the world looks like through the eyes of the Far Cry series' main antagonists, Ubisoft is giving you your chance to find out with the Season Pass for Far Cry 6. Giving players the opportunity to step into the broken minds of Voss, Pagan Min, and Joseph Seed, players will finally get the chance to see the way they view not only the world around them, but the player characters from their respective entries as well. From what we've seen so far, it's going to be an absolute mind trip and a fascinating look into the minds of these villains of the past. For those wanting a more nostalgia-driven trip to the past, the Season Pass will also include Far Cry 3's unforgettable Blood Dragon expansion.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Do you agree with our picks? If you like this video, there's more where that came from.